Good afternoon, Canisius High School community. It is Andy Deyell, your Vice President for Institutional Advancement, back with another episode of Conversations with Canisius, where we check in with our alumni here in Buffalo and all over the U.S. and check in on what they have been up to since their time here at 1180 Delaware. I am joined today by a very special guest from Lockport, New York, Dr. Jeffrey Schratz from the class of 1975. Dr. Schratz, how are you?
I'm doing great. Appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. Dr. Schratz is a general surgeon with Great Lakes Surgical, as I said, located in Lockport, New York. We'll get to sort of your path to becoming a surgeon in a second. But Dr. Schratz, take me back. You were class of 1975. It means in 1971, you were just a young 14-year-old looking to get a start in high school. How did you hear about Canisius High School, and what drew you to Canisius?
A little bit of legacy. My older brother, Jim, was the class of 1965. I was always enamored with the Jesuits and the building and the glamour of Canisius. I was actually torn, if I remember correctly, between Bishop Neumann and Canisius. But if memory serves, 1971, when I started, was the first year they had a hockey team. And I really wanted to play hockey. That was a kind of a common theme for me. So Jeff Gemmer, Coach Gemmer, was starting the hockey team, and that was sort of what really got me to commit to Canisius.
That's great. And so you mentioned Mr. Gemmer. Who are some of the other influences that you had when you were at Canisius High School, either on the faculty or coaches?
Oh, golly. There were a lot. Two that come to mind right off the hop are Father McShane and Father Sala, who were scholastics at the time. They taught a course that I vividly remember and still reminisce with Father McShane about, where one of them would teach. We would read a book on science fiction and then one of the classics, and the two of them would in animated fashion, they would argue about what was a better genre, either sci-fi or the classics. So.
And aside from hockey, any other clubs or activities that you were involved in as a student or that you remember fondly?
Well, there was the Labatt's 50 Club, which I'm not sure. There were some pretty funny articles in the Citadel written by a friend and colleague, Steve Leas, about our shenanigans. But those were days gone by.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about your journey since Canisius High School, where you went to college, and how you sort of find yourself on a path to being a doctor.
Partly because of my connections with Canisius. I was met by actually Steve Leas's dad, a gentleman, really great guy by the name of Tom Leas, who was a Williams grad. And he came up after a hockey game and said, "Would you like to go to Williams?" And I said, "I'll never get in, Mr. Leas." But he might have pulled some strings. So I ended up going to Williams College for 4 years, which I loved. Played a little bit of hockey there. Then I went and did research at Harvard Medical School in Boston for a few years, kind of bolstering my credentials for med school. Subsequently went to the University of Cincinnati Med School for 4 years and came back to Buffalo to do my residency for a number of reasons. We had a young child, and the infrastructure, because I was going to be pretty busy as a surgical resident. And I would say that other than marrying the woman I married and going to Canisius, the third best thing I ever did was coming back to Western New York.
And when you came back, you've been here ever since now.
True. Yes, we bought a small house in Lancaster when I was a resident, and then we moved out to Niagara County, and I've been in practice here in Lockport. We also go down to Buffalo, but since 1991, I've been in practice here.
And has it always been a Great Lakes Surgical, or have you engaged in other practices throughout your career?
When I first came out, I joined a gentleman by the name of Dr. Di Benedetto, and then we subsequently brought on Dr. Hodge, who I am now partners with, and we formed Great Lakes Surgical probably back in the late 90s.
Wow. And so how would you say your time at Canisius High School, prepared you for your chosen profession as a surgeon?
I think the idea of being organized, to study, the commitment to getting the job done or being prepared. The other thing that I really think the Jesuits teach, and I'm curious your thought on this, Andy, is they really give you a sense of wonder.
Yeah.
They really they instate they teach you the X's and O's, if you will, but they really kind of get people to go out and imagine and engage and explore. And I think that that's something that Canisius, I'm really grateful for that sense of wonder that they instill.
And what you call a sense of wonder, as I've often put, they educated a desire in me, right? I went to I went
Exactly.
not only Canisius, but then Jesuit college at Lemoyne, and then I attended Georgetown. I've worked in Jesuit schools, and what I like to say about Jesuit schools is they educate a desire in you, a desire to know more, a desire to do more, a desire to be with people who are motivated and who are maybe in some cases pull you along to greatness as you go, because you're surrounded by such excellence. And so what you say there, it's very well put. I've never heard it put that way. But yeah, a sense of wonder. They instill in you this need to know and be more, and a demagis. And so I think it sounds like both of us had a very similar experience there.
Right.
What are
You
what
said it with more panache, but I totally agree.
Well, it's so interesting that it's just really slight variations how we think of these things. They're the same thing, but with just slightly our own language, our own
Mhm.
experience brought from so many years working and being. So when you think of our young students today, and you think of our young alumni who are just getting started in the world, what would be a couple pieces of advice you would give to our young alums and our young people today, as they maybe even thinking about a career in medicine or a career in anything, really? Just some pieces of advice.
Um, I guess the first thing I'd say is don't be in a rush. The trajectory that I took is one that I appreciated. When I was sitting in class at the University of Cincinnati, I was with a lot of people that had just gone straight from undergrad to med school, whereas having been out in the world for a couple of years, I was very happy to be back in the academic environment. So don't be in a rush. Find your passion. I know that's cliche-ish, and I guess the other part would be enjoy the journey. It's not just about the goal. It's making sure you enjoy the moment, enjoy your classmates, enjoy the people you're around, and don't be afraid to fail.
Right.
So
All
I think
important
that's
things,
a
right?
yeah.
I always thought we learned more when we failed than we did when we succeeded. And if we just could embrace sort of the blessings of the skin knee, we would all be, that much better. You mentioned earlier
I
your,
have a
go ahead.
I have a saying. Fail fast and fail forward.
Yeah.
Not one you want to hear from your surgeon, but in my other endeavors, I think.
But good life advice nonetheless, right? You mentioned
Yeah.
your passions and following your passions. Now you have a separate passion. Not only are you an accomplished surgeon, but you also dabble in real estate. I know that's one of your passions because you and I have spoken before. Tell me a little bit
Mhm.
about sort of this. You just because what you do for a living doesn't have to be your only passion, right? So tell me a little bit
Oh
about
no,
your real estate passion and how you've
sure.
quenched that thirst throughout.
Well, my wife and I have a vacation rental business, sort of a Airbnb, VRBO, or Verbo. We started buying properties in places that we like to vacation, and we were up to five or six, but we've kind of right sized to three. And I love it. My poor wife Ellen does most of the work, but I really enjoy it. It's financially pretty successful, and it's really nice to hear people that go and enjoy themselves and have a memorable vacation that they can think back upon over the years. So,
Sure.
and
Surgeon,
it's a good I think it's a good financial investment to diversify a little bit. So
great. A surgeon and a landlord. That'll keep you
yeah,
busy.
there you go. Yep.
Absolutely. Well, tell me. Oh, so we talked about your past and talked about your career, and you've been practicing medicine now for how many years? Would you say?
Ooh, 32.
32. And
I've
so
been out of. Mhm.
we've been talking a lot about looking back, but as you look to the future, what are some things, Dr. Schratz, that you're excited about in the future, near future, longer term future, plans that you have that maybe passions you haven't quite, itches you haven't scratched yet. So I guess I'd say. So tell me a little bit about what the future holds for Dr. Schratz and family.
Well, we are very blessed to have four happy, healthy children. Unfortunately, none of whom live in Western New York, but three of them are in New England, one in Washington. We have three grandchildren in Portland. And the way the circle of life goes, when you get to be our age, the focus tends to be the grandchildren. So looking forward to retiring sometime in the not too distant future so we can spend more time with them.
Well, that's great. So travel,
Yep.
travel and visiting family, something I think we all like to do more of, but that's wonderful. I just wanted to thank you so much for joining us today and sharing a little bit with us about your journey and your background and your passions. And we hope you're not a stranger and that you're around campus as often as you can be in the coming months and years.
No, I certainly will be. And I would advise all of my colleagues that may get a glimpse at this to call up one of your alumni friends, make sure you reconnect or continue the connections. I have some very dear friends that are graduates that I graduated with that are probably my closest friends throughout the years. And the Canisius, whatever the connections you make at Canisius are forever. So enjoy them while they last.
And it won't be long for you for your Golden Jubilee. Just a few short years, you'll be celebrating your 50th.
Thank you for reminding me, Andy.
I'm
looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll talk soon and be well, Dr. Schratz.
You too. Stay well. Thanks for the opportunity.